It's important to note that this conversation gets into some heavy topics, including addiction, drug use, and suicide ideation. If that's a sensitive topic to you, I'd recommend skipping this episode.
Like, I don't want to try and make this interesting because it's so nasty and brutal. I think the point of me saying all of this and telling this story is with that hope that there is someone that this can help. And I just hope if someone's listening, like, change is entirely possible. And it's like, I've been there. Like, I feel you. And yeah, just know that you're not alone. Like, there is another way, and it leads to a really beautiful life.
Welcome to Beyond the Bass, a podcast where we go beyond the music and into the full, authentic stories of your favorite artists. No sound bites or surface level moments. This is truly a space for connection, depth, and honesty. It's my hope you'll walk away feeling more connected to your favorite artist and maybe even a tad more inspired to pursue your own passions too. Today's guest is Tom Bluer, better known as BLOSSM. His music blends heavy bass with the soul of R&B, funk, and boom bop. And his goal as an artist is to cultivate conscious community through sound, mindfulness, and positive energy. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive in. Dude,
Here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Like, I think the problem is I think I'm going to say this every single episode. Like, I'm so excited for this conversation, but it's so genuine because I don't even know the half of your story, but the little that you've told me is so inspiring and powerful and raw and beautiful in so many ways. And I'm so excited to hear the whole thing.
Yeah, man.
Heck yeah. I know you're really big into breath work and meditation. So I thought it'd be cool if we took a couple grounding breaths. Does that work for you?
I love it.
Cool. I'll lead us. All right. Gently close your eyes. And if you're following along and listening at home, you're more than welcome to just close your eyes as well. If you're driving, don't do that. And you could also just skip this. It'll be about 30 seconds to a minute. So close your eyes. Take a deep inhale through your nose. An audible open mouth exhale. Good. Inhale through your nose. And exhale out your mouth. Once more through your nose. Out your mouth. Take an inhale through your nose and hold at the top. Take an additional sip of air and continue to hold. And slow exhale out your mouth. Whenever you're ready, you could open your eyes. How are you feeling?
Better now.
Heck yeah. Sweet dude. Well, let's dive in. I'm going to have an intro in the beginning of this podcast, but I would really love for you to kind of explain or introduce yourself in your own words, if that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name's Tom, and I go by Blossom. And yeah, I make funk step. It's really heavily influenced by like boom bap rap and Motown soul, and kind of all these different counterparts that I try and blend together into like a heavy, energetic, funky kind of sound. And I really enjoy what I do, and I'd love if you checked out my music.
Heck yeah. I'm sure they will after this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think it's always important when someone introduces themselves in their own words on the fly. Yeah. Okay. I would love to start. Well, actually, before we go there, I asked this question at the end of last podcast, but I think it'd be really cool to ask it at the beginning of the podcast. And that is, for listeners that are listening, what is one key takeaway or one thing you really hope they'll remember from your story?
It's a good question. I think for me personally, it's that change is possible. I feel like when we're wrapped up in our everyday life and we're going about things in a routine and a pattern, it's really hard to look outside of that pattern and see that there is a different way to do things. And for me, it took a lot of struggle to realize that there's a different way to go about my life. And so yeah, I would say change is possible, and you can do anything that you put your mind to. Um, and even if things are dark and scary, um, it's okay to try something different and get out of your comfort zone.
Sweet. Oh man, that's a great primer. Like now I'm primed. It's like, okay, I know kind of where we're gonna go, and like I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would love to start kind of with the backstory, the childhood, who Tom was as a child, and to do this, what a little gift. Not a gift,
Ooh.
but little prompt, if you
Oh,
will.
nice. Some questions.
No, not questions, but rather take a look at this.
Dude.
Why don't you explain to the listeners what you're looking at? If you're watching the video, you'll see this on screen.
That's how the fuck did you get this?
Found it.
Dude, that's crazy. I remember that vacuum from my house when I was growing up.
Well, what are you looking at, first of all? Some people can't see that.
Yeah, so it's a picture of me. I got to be like maybe 4, maybe 5, and I'm holding this like handheld vacuum thing, standing in the kitchen of like my childhood home, wearing an oversized t-shirt, which is very fitting for my style nowadays. Not much has changed there, but
What are you vacuuming up? There's like a jar of milk on the table. I think you might have spilled cereal, maybe.
yeah, for sure Cheerios. And
Okay.
I think my mom was instilling the values of keeping a clean kitchen. Yeah, dude, that's why I'm so curious how you got this.
Did some stalking.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's wild. Yeah, this was in our childhood home. I was living in Connecticut, I believe, at the time. I was there for a few years when I was a kid. I was born in Texas, lived there for 2 years, and then we moved to Connecticut for a few years, and then we moved to Colorado when I think I was like 9 or 10,
Okay.
and been here since.
So Texas to Connecticut to Colorado.
Yeah,
You tasted a little bit of the country.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Connecticut were some of my first like memories as like a child, like running around outside. We had this like big nature preserve that backed up to our house. And I remember like spending just like hours like out there, like climbing up the trees. And like I had this rope, this orange rope, and I would like build like make like a harness and like try and like scale up the rocks and stuff. And
Adventure boy.
yeah, exactly. Got my first like, I guess, taste of like the outdoors when I was living there,
Yeah.
and it was a great place to grow up.
Cool.
Yeah, I remember I have a lot of fond memories of the East Coast.
Sweet. Let me grab that for you. So
Yeah.
it's no longer in the shot.
For sure.
Well, it's a souvenir. You can keep it if you really want to, but you already know where it came from eventually, basically. Who was Tom at that age or in those years?
Yeah. I mean, like, I want to go towards music because I feel like that was the age when I like started really like listening to music and feeling like emotionally about music. Like I was super into like Blink-182 and Green Day and like Good Charlotte. And
At 4 years old?
not at 4 years
Oh,
old.
oh.
A little bit later on, but I did get my first drum set when I was, I think, like 6, and I didn't know how to play at all, and my parents didn't really give me lessons. I just like banged on shit and like would be playing like blasting like Blink-182 in the background and like drumming over Travis Barker, which I'm sure sounded awful, and like I have a lot of gratitude to my parents for like putting up with that for at 6 years old. Like I'm sure that was not a very great thing to listen to, but yeah, when I was living in Connecticut, that was kind of like when I started listening to music, and a lot of that was inspired by my brother and my sister as well. My brother is 10 years older than I am, and my sister is, I think, 6 years older than I am, and they would give me their old like CDs, and I would listen to them, and so they kind of like started this. I guess they like put me onto some like good music pretty early on, which was cool. And it was not stuff that my parents were listening to, but it was like stuff that was, I guess, popular in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Um, but yeah,
And how old were you at this time?
um, I would say from like 4 till
Okay.
like 8 or
So
9.
still young. So the older sibling influence, like they gave you the music, and you're just sitting there like fly on the wall. Eventually, you adopt some of that style or some of
Yeah,
that preference taste.
exactly. Like I remember sitting in my brother's car and he had like this decked out sound system, like pretty douchey in retrospect, but love him to death. It was a cool sound system, but he would be like bumping like punk rock, like a lot of like southern rap, like all, and I thought it was so cool. Like you'd be like sitting and the bass would like literally move the like the hair on your arms, and yeah, it was cool.
Love that.
Yeah. um, yeah, and I think like the nature thing too. Like I am a very outdoorsy person now, and I love to spend time outside. I feel closest to myself when I'm outside. I think a lot of that started because of that like nature preserve that was ran up right behind our house, and yeah, I remember being like a little tornado, like just kind of flying around, lots of energy, um, and yeah, it was a. I mean, it's like the perfect time of everyone's life. Like, you're not worried about anything. No paychecks to worry about, no rent,
No, dude.
no overhead.
Living carefree.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that you use the word tornado. I think that's such a unique and interesting way to describe a person, but like yourself, basically. That's
Yeah,
it's kind of like all over the place. A lot of energy.
yeah, yeah.
And so you were the youngest of three.
Of three, yeah.
What was it like being the youngest, but like your siblings were like pretty significantly older than you? Like I imagine when siblings are close together, there's like maybe a little bit more fighting, but your siblings might have been so much older, where it's like they can't really pick on you. At the same time, I'm guessing, but I'm curious if this is related, that you were able to be a tornado because like they had their stuff together and they weren't tornadoes themselves.
Yeah, I think I got a lot of leeway from our parents. I think they had done the song and dance twice already, and so when it came to me, they were like a little bit more hands off and kind of just let me be my own person at that age, and still to this day, they still accept every phase and every chapter and every version of myself that I've been. I had really loving parents, and I'll get into my relationship with them later on. But my mom's been always like one of my biggest supporters through every phase, and like she's always been there. And I think having my brother and sister pave the way for me was really, I mean, I think I lucked out a little bit because they were used to it, and they like kind of knew that, no matter how hard you try with kids, like they're still going to be kids. And I'm sure as like, I'm not a parent, but like, I assume that's probably a lesson that comes at some point in every parent's journey, or at least I hope that is. um, so yeah, I think it was a really just a beautiful time for my childhood. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So when you said pave the way, you mean like your parents were more hands off because they already had done it with two kids.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so. Yeah.
got it. That makes sense. What was your relationship like with your two older siblings? Sounds like they were very influential, at least into the music stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We've always been really close, and we still are. My brother, I was the best man at his wedding, and
Nice.
he has just been a rock through like a lot of big things in my life. And him and I have a really close relationship, and he and I go fly fishing, and he's got a son now, and so I'm an uncle, and I love my nephew to death. Like, it's so awesome to see like this little like he was a peanut and now he's like a living, talking, breathing person with like a full personality. And it's super cool to be a part of and be around. And it's been really great to be a part of his life. And, you know, it's made my connection with my brother a lot stronger. And, we always connected on like sports, and he like would always mentor me in like different, like he was kind of like a coach in a lot of ways. And like he would, you know, come to the Pee Wee like football games, and like he was a high school athlete, and so he would like coach the team and like come for different sessions, and like
Wow.
And so he was super involved, and really just like there and down for being like a big brother to me. And
Yeah.
it was cool. I mean, like, yeah, my relationship with my sister, I feel like I got a lot of my emotional intelligence from her. Like and not to say my brother isn't, but like my sister really showed me like that it's okay to like have feelings and like express those feelings, and like if you're sad, like talk about that, or like if you're going through something, like it's okay to to have that happen. And like I feel like a lot of it started really early on through them, like
Mm.
and through them just being a little bit older and like having a little bit more life experience under their belt. I was able to be a part of that and like learn from them. And um, yeah, I love them both to death. They're wonderful people.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That sounds like a really healthy balance between like, I mean, I'm gonna go spiritual here, but like masculine and feminine
Yeah.
energies. Like you got some good skills from both. Is there anything you felt was missing? Like things that you were hoping to get from your siblings, but like didn't quite get that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think every family dynamic has its push and its pull. I think that there's going to be, divisions, and there's going to be different things that come up in life. But, like I was extremely blessed in my childhood to have, a loving family system. And, there isn't a whole lot that I can think of that like that was really needed. Like um, yeah, I can't say I really wanted for anything. I think my relationship with my parents, it's a little bit different. Specifically with my dad. He worked like all the time in the city when we were in Connecticut and
Mm.
onward into Denver. When once we moved to Denver, and he wasn't really around a whole lot. And as my life went on, we suffered like some breaks in our relationship,
Mm.
my dad and I. But yeah, my mom, like I said earlier, she's just always been like so supportive of everything, and she really fueled the flame of like anything that I was interested in. She was like, okay, let's see how we can like get you into that.
Yeah.
Um, which was like really cool. And I feel like it led to me being a kind of like a diverse, my interests are very diverse, and
Mm.
in the sense that there's a lot of things that like I enjoy doing that are kind of like niche and like pretty specific. But I think a lot of that's from her and just like having their support early on. So yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting when you mentioned that your brother was kind of like coaching your teams growing up. I immediately thought to my father, who did that for me, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." Normally, I would think a father would do that. And I'm curious if you think your brother did that because it sounds like your father was less present growing up.
Yeah. I think early on, I don't know if he was aware that he was doing that. Um,
Your brother?
my brother,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that definitely played a role. And I think he early on, with either consciously or subconsciously, like kind of saw that that was happening, and he was,
Mm.
involved. And later on in life, like he really stepped in and like took that, like very consciously took that like role
Wow.
in. And it's, yeah, like just thinking on it, like makes me very emotional. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to have an opportunity to like sit down and think about that, and like, um, and actually talk about it. Cause it's not something I feel like a lot of people think about on like a day-to-day basis. It's, and I think for me, like I'm incredibly fortunate, like to have had that.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful for that.
No, that's really beautiful. And I think vulnerability is important. So I want to reciprocate. I'm 3 years older than my brother, and I wasn't there for him growing up.
Mm.
And so, like, to hear, and listen, I have regrets about that. If I could do it differently, I would. It's in the past now. There's nothing I could do. Um, but to hear that, like, your brother was such kind of like a supporter, advocate, like really just like there for you is so beautiful, and just makes me like it makes me emotional thinking about that because it's like, dang, like I wish I could have been that for my brother, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think there's always possibility to do it now. Like change is possible.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
you can always step in, and like I am a firm believer that like nothing happens by chance, and like the fact that you're thinking about it, like there's something there. Like I've had conversations with one of my really close friends who feels very similarly, and it him and I had a conversation last year, and he was like, dude, yeah, like I'm really distant and I'm really worried about my brother. And it was like, have you like reached out to him? He's like, no. And I was like, well, maybe that's a good place to start. And now a year later, like he's come out to Denver and he's like gone on ski trips, and like they've kind of like grown this relationship in the last year or so, like as adults, that they didn't really have as children. But it's really cool to see as an outside observer. It's like, oh, like you can change like how you interact with your family dynamic at any point, whether you're setting more boundaries or getting closer to people. Like there's always room for growth as you're growing as a person.
Yeah. Spoken like a true therapist. I mean,
I've
there's
done
a
a
lot.
lot of that.
Oh man. Okay. You mentioned music. You mentioned the influence from your older siblings. Well, actually, let me acknowledge what you just said. Like, yes, I agree with you. Thank you. And it's something that I'm actively working on. I
You've
don't want to
mentioned
just
that,
dismiss it.
yeah.
No, it's important. Um, the music. So you mentioned the early influence was from your older siblings. I would love to understand how you got into music. At what age you started tinkering, playing? Like, when did it really become a part of your life in some way?
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I got that first drum set, and I remember like not knowing how to play and just like having so much fun and like blasting Blink 182 on my speakers in my room, like jumping around the room, like pretending I was on a stage, like performing. And like that thrill of like, I don't know, just going to that headspace of like rocking around. Like it was, I think that's when I like became quote unquote a musician. Like,
Mm,
and I think there was a lot of things that went into that, like smaller pieces, but that's kind of like my firm memory of like, okay, I know that I want to do something. Like I want to be like that. Like I want to be able to like jump around and like have this cathartic release with like all these people and like be a part of something that's energetic and like emotional and just so many different things. And I remember like being young and like having somewhat of an understanding of what that was.
mm,
And I think from there, like it only just increased. And, I got a bass when I was like 8 or so, like an electric bass guitar. And again, didn't know how to play, but I fucking jammed on that thing.
yeah.
And I'm sure it sounded terrible, but like there was no parameters to it. Like there wasn't this need to like be good at it, or like there wasn't a destination necessarily. Like I wasn't in a band at that time, wasn't doing anything that like the stakes were so low that it was just like it was fun. And like I think because there was no stakes, like it was just this really fun thing that I got to like imagine myself doing, even though I didn't know how to actually like technically play anything. Like
Yeah.
um so I think that's kind of how I got into music, was through actual like live instruments. And it only kind of continued from there.
Yeah. What did that continuation look like?
So when I was like 9 or 10, we moved to Denver, and we had a lot of family things going on at that time. My dad worked for Lehman Brothers in 2008,
Mm,
which was a shit show. Both my parents are attorneys, and my dad was one of the like the lead like legal counsel for Lehman Brothers, which, for anyone who isn't familiar with like the 2008 financial crisis, Lehman Brothers was like at the center of the whole collapse, essentially, or at least they were one of the players that was played a big role in the collapse of like the global economy. And so we moved to Denver, and things were really kind of strained in our family dynamic. And I started turning to music more and more, to kind of like to deal, I guess to like, yeah, deal with that and like process that there was something wrong in my family. I was, super young, and I didn't know how to like fix that. Like I didn't have the tools to really do anything with that, and so it kind of became like a coping mechanism to some degree.
Yeah. Can
Where
you speak more on the strain?
yeah, so like my dad was still working in New York, but we moved to Denver, and so he was there 5 nights a week, and then he would fly home. And when he was home, he would just like sleep, or he'd be like super stressed out. Um, and so it really had an impact on the whole family and like our financial situation. Like everything kind of evaporated to some degree. Like we
Mm.
were to some degree, like we were very comfortable as like a family and in a financial way. And like when we moved, like everything kind of changed, and there's this kind of like looming threat of like this like I guess stability isn't guaranteed at this point. And so I remember a lot of stress in our family about that, and it wasn't anything that us as kids could do anything about, but it was there, and it was kind of in the peripheral of like of our family. And I think music kind of came into that, like where I had this like outlet to some degree to like not not be worried about like things as a family. And I was young, like I didn't necessarily understand what was going on.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna ask. Like, what was your understanding at that time? Like, clearly something was wrong in your body where you're like, I need to go play music and express in some way. But like, what was it? What was happening?
I think now looking back on it and like having done a lot of like therapy and a lot of like work on that period of my life, like I understand now what the driver was and like what the cause was and like all these things. But as a kid, like I didn't really understand what was going on. Like
Mm.
I didn't have a grasp on how financial markets worked and impacted families, and like I didn't understand any of that to a degree to actually like know that things were changing and things were going to be different than they were for the first bit of my life. And
Mm.
so it was kind of like just things would change, and it was like, this sucks. Like I'm upset about this. Like we can't, don't take a family vacation, or like and I feel very entitled kind of saying that, because I know a lot of people like a family vacation is kind of out of the question for a lot of families.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was just kind of a nature of like things changed, and I didn't understand what was happening, um, and so it was just kind of I used the tools that were there, like the things that I knew made me feel good, and like that not have to like look at that or be around it or like experience that to really kind of escape to some degree. I think
Mm-hmm.
like music was an escape.
Yeah. Okay. So it kind of got you through. It was one of the tools that got you through some tumultuous times growing up. And at what point or how soon after did it turn into like more of a calling as opposed to just like something to do to distract yourself?
Yeah. So when I was in middle school, my middle school and high school were attached, and it was a really small school. And there is a band program, and there was a middle school band, and then in the high school they had three different bands. There was a R&B band, a jazz band, and a like Latin band, which the Latin band played like salsa and like reggae and kind of like a mixed bag of different tunes. And so when I was in middle school, I was like, oh, I like don't really know how to play drums, but I'm gonna like learn how to play drums so that I could get into this band. And
Mm.
then it kind of like it motivated me to like actually formally learn how to play an instrument. So I started taking drumming lessons and started learning how to read sheet music and like how to like count to four beats, and like how music is structured, and like a verse, a phrase, like all these kind of things I started to learn like in a formal setting,
Mm-hmm.
with the idea of like going into this band.
Mm-hmm.
And so that like progressed, and I tried out for that band later on, and I didn't get in, and I kind of was like, well, fuck this. And I like joined the choir or something like that. And I was the only dude, and at the time I hated it, but my mom was like, you signed up, you have to do it. And so I was the only guy in this choir of like 30 girls, and it was like social embarrassment to the max. But I did it. I did it for a year, like my 7th grade year. I was in this choir, and I learned. Actually, I shouldn't say I learned because I still struggle with this, but like it was my first time that I like committed to something that I didn't want. I realized later I didn't want to commit to, and I just had to like see it through. Um, and so yeah, time goes on. I get to like high school, and I'm like, okay, 9th grade, like I'm gonna do this. And so I try out for the R&B band, playing drums again, and it doesn't work out. Like I don't get the spot. This guy, one of my really close friends, his name's Peter Fisher, and he's a homie. He's an incredibly talented drummer. He got the spot, and
Mm.
the teacher for the band was like, okay, go, like you play bass as well. Like you have a bass, like go learn how to play. We need a bassist.
Mm-hmm.
So like learn how to play bass, and well, like I'll guarantee you a spot essentially.
Wow.
And so I learned bass and took lessons and kind of put drums off to the side for the moment, and started learning bass. And I started learning like chord structure or scales, and kind of like how like with drums it's just rhythmic. Like, you know, it's like you have a snare, a hi-hat, like crash, like there, and the drums are tuned themselves, but there isn't a scale that you play on them. And so with learning bass, I learned that like there's this whole thing of like music theory, which like I didn't I mean, I still don't fully understand music theory, at least to the extent that some people do, but like I got a general understanding of how it worked, and like how it like plays in, and like how different instruments work together, and different scales like make up different genres. And so I tried out again, and I got placed in the fucking salsa band, which is the Latin band. And I absolutely like, I don't like salsa music. But they played some reggae. So I was like, okay, at least I can like play reggae. Like I get down with that. I was like 15 or 16 at the time. I was starting to get curious about like smoking weed, and I thought that like reggae was like cool. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like I can roll with this.
Totally.
So like I ate shit for like a year in this salsa band, like not really digging it, but like had my eyes set on joining this R&B band. And so after that, I tried out again. The bassist for the R&B band graduated, and I think his name's Corbin Jones. He's an insane session musician. If anyone out here is listening and curious, go look this dude up. I haven't connected with him in probably 15 years, but like this guy was insanely talented. And so he
We'll send him the
graduated.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But you know, I hyped you up at this minute mark. Reconnect with him. But yeah, so I started playing bass in the R&B band, and that's kind of when I hit my stride. Like we were playing like a lot of Stevie Wonder covers and Aretha Franklin, and like all these really cool like groovy R&B tunes that I think really like I found my like it felt like I was doing something that I really appreciated. And um and at that time, and I know I'm kind of long-winded with this, but
No, it's good.
um at that time, living in Denver, there is this like emergence of like glitch hop, and Grizz was starting to like become a name, and Big Gigantic, and like Opio, and like all these like artists that were electronic artists. But a lot of what they were doing was like pulling strongly from R&B and like samples,
Mm-hmm.
pretty lights. Like they were sampling music that I was playing in this band. And I went to Big Gigantic's Rowdy Town 1. I think I was like 16. And Grizz was the first act to open. And it was a Friday night. And I drove up there, like me and some friends drove up there after high school, like went into Red Rocks, and Grizz was playing. And he had just released Mad Liberation. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? This is sick. Like he's ripping saxophone. He's got all like these cool samples and these like huge bass lines and like really cool syncopated like grooves going on. And I remember just like dancing around, like going crazy to Grizz. And I was like, I want to do that. Like that is the shit that like I want. And like that's what sparked it.
Wow.
And it was insane. Like it was super cool. And So that's kind
Shout
of
out Grizz, by the way.
shout out
We love you.
Grizz. We love Grizz so much, Grant. It's so good that you're back. And um, I went to Seven Stars, and it was just like the most beautiful festival. Like
Everyone says that.
I
I've yet to find a person that tells me they didn't enjoy it.
yeah, it was beautiful, man. It was super cool. And so yeah, like I kept playing in the R&B band, and we did some cool stuff. Like we won the Downbeat Award, which is a really big award for like young musicians. And we ended up doing a Europe tour my senior year, which was sick. Like we just graduated high school, and we went and we played in Switzerland, in Italy, and we like had recorded an album. And at the time I'd broken my wrist, and so I couldn't play bass. So I was in charge of mixing and mastering. Like my teacher taught me how to mix and master the album. And that
Mhm.
kind of got me into more of the like not electronic, but like the computer side of like this is how you like record artists, and like here's how you set levels, and like kind of mixing and putting things together. And so I started like running sound at their shows on that tour. And at the time I had bought like a DJ controller and was teaching myself how to DJ.
Mm.
And so either my junior or senior year, I started recording mixes and putting them out on SoundCloud. And I ended up playing my like senior year, like the Electric Nights or something, Neon Nights or something like that. And I ripped a set that was just like Grizz, Big G, Opio, like Pretty Light, like all those people that I was just naming. Like it was a set of that, and like everyone in my high school like loved it. It was super
Wow.
cool. So it was like the first time I ever stepped on like a stage in an electronic setting was at like a school dance, and I got that feeling that I had been chasing, like as that 6-year-old kid, like ripping up my room and like screaming lyrics to like these songs. Like I got that feeling of like, holy shit, like I'm doing it. Like this is cool. Um, so yeah, I'll kind of pause there and let you
No,
talk a bit.
that's great. Like, I think that was like super logical. Like, I followed it completely. Yeah, like I'm following. So it sounds like, you know, Grizz, Red Rocks. Grizz was probably really small if he's opening at that time or whatever, smaller.
Yeah.
Uh, that was the spark. It's like,
Mm,
wait a second, there's more.
yeah.
And then this school dance. Sounds like a sick school dance, by the way. You're
That's
now
fun.
like ripping these songs, and you're like, whoa, this is kind of this like feels unique in my body, something I haven't felt for years. Is that loosely correct?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like performing in any capacity, like there is something special and like magical that happens when it all clicks. Like when you play a song out that like gets me fired up and you see a response from other people that share that same emotion, like it is so uniquely special to like have that experience. And even being a participant like at a show, an attendee, like when an artist plays a song out and you feel like that song is for you, like there's no other feeling in the world that like beats. It's like you're having like a direct like telepathic like conversation with the artist. Like I don't know if you've ever experienced something like that, but it's just like it's I don't know, music's so fucking cool in that way, like that it's everyone listens to music, at least a lot of people listen to music, some more than others, but like just everyone like has that innate like I don't know, there's something that happens to us mentally that like music scratches an itch at some level in our like soul.
For sure. I don't think I've ever had a telepathic experience like that, but my I'm very interested in telepathy right now because of the
Yeah.
telepathy tapes. So I don't doubt it. Like I'm sure there's something to that. Um, I've had my own kind of mystical experiences at festivals, but nothing where I feel like I'm directly communicating or the artist is directly communicating with me. Um, but I can understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so like that, this is like this moment, like, whoa, this feels really good. I think I want to do this. Then what?
Yeah. So I graduated high school. I went to college in Ohio for some reason. I wanted to party essentially. Like I was
Mm,
all through high school, like I was partying a lot, and um, going back to some of the family dynamic stuff, my parents split up when I was 16, and it's something that I've done a lot of work around. But as the events of that were unfolding, I turned to coping mechanisms that were around. Like I was drinking a lot and I was smoking weed, and we were going to shows, and at the time there was, people that were selling drugs in the crowd, and like I started getting into Molly and like
At
started doing
16?
yeah. Yeah. Started doing like drugs like pretty casually, but like as an escape, and really to just be able to feel my way through what was happening. And the last 2 years of high school were like really rough. And it was really tough.
Yeah, wow. I I really appreciate you sharing that. That's heavy. And so the substances kind of intertwined with you getting into music, like around the same time period.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I think music's a really good place if you're trying to get really fucked up. Like, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the reality of it. Is it is a place where a lot of that behavior is like very accepted. And
Mm,
I there wasn't anyone that was like telling me, like I didn't have like a mentor through it. Like whereas like yeah, like you can go and like you can go party, but like you have to like pull your shit together the rest of the time. And I didn't like the lines got very blurred for me where it was like it kind of just was all one big party. Like
yeah.
um and that like continued, and like that was my mindset going into college. And
Where was your
um
brother at this time? Because he was such a support for you.
yeah, so he lived up in Vale, and when my dad left, he actually moved down to Denver and moved into the spare bedroom with his, I think there it was his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife. And he like came down and like stepped in, and
Mm,
like at the time it was just my mom and I. And so he came down and like he stepped in and like tried to be there through it, and like be a part of the like to be a part of the family, and like and try to at least guide some, like have some semblance of like a paternal figure. And I think he was like 26 at the time. Like it
mm-hmm.
was totally unfair to like put that on him, but
Sure.
like also he did it, and he did it to the best that he could. And I'm really grateful for that, because he was around and like he showed up and was there. And
Yeah.
that's kind of one of those things that I talked about, or that I mentioned earlier. Like he showed up, like he shows up at every point through my story.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you asked where he was.
Yeah, I was curious because it sounded like things were starting to get a little go a little haywire. And I was curious since he was a support where he was currently.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Okay, so college, partying, doing the college thing.
yeah,
Like
and
at this point, DJing.
yeah. So I was playing like frat parties, and was I I was DJing, and I met this kid. His name's Cooper, and he's also a cracked producer. But he and I didn't know anything about like production. I just knew how to DJ, and he knew like so much about production and didn't know how to DJ. So I was like, dude, let's like team up, and let's
Mm,
like you can teach me a little bit of production. I'll teach you how to DJ, and we'll do this like as a legit like artist, I guess, or like an artist group. So we started a project called Lift Ticket, and we played like future bass, like kind of very heavily inspired by Louis the Child and like Flume, and kind of that like really cool kind of wavy music that's like kind of trap induced as well. And so we were like putting music out, and he was trying to teach me how to like produce, and I wasn't paying any attention because I just wasn't ready yet, like for the commitment that it takes to like become a good producer.
mm,
But it got me familiar with like Ableton and like what Ableton is and its like capabilities, and Serum, and like how to like actually write music like on a laptop.
mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we released music, and like we were playing shows and like doing fun things, but I was just kind of like partying the whole time. Like I would get
Yeah.
like super fucked up, and like
Did you feel like you like made it at some point? If you're playing shows, like You're this DJ producer. Like, what was happening inside your body outside of the fact that you were getting fucked up?
We, I wouldn't say we like made it. Like I think we were there and like we filled the need of
Mm.
like a college like EDM group to some degree. Like we didn't get like shows out of our college town. Like
Okay.
we didn't like, do anything that I would like define as making it as like an artist, but like, yeah, it was cool. Like
Sure.
we got to go like play and like people, I guess like to some degree like knew who we were and like we'd get booked for things. And I kind of like made this, so I like made a booking like management type thing where I would, people would hit me up to come like for Lift Ticket to come play. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to be like the manager of Lift Ticket as well as a participant.
Mm-hmm.
So they paid a booking fee and then like the fee for the like actual project. So I got paid like a little bit extra on top, but I was kind of like operating like going out and networking and like trying to like, oh, this is like the social chair for this group or for this like sorority. And like I want to make sure that like they know that we exist. And then we'd get hit up to play. And then like at bars, like I would go and like drink a beer with the owner and like start to like network a bit to try and like get us booked.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of my first introduction to like, I guess the management and like the booking and the talent buying side of things. And it wasn't a ton of exposure. I got more later on, but like, it was, yeah, I mean, it was something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're doing Lift Ticket. You're a manager. You're DJing. You're getting fucked up. Like, do you at that point do you know what's coming next? Like, do you see a path for yourself? Do you have any idea where you want to be going?
No, like I wanted to be big, but I didn't know how to get there.
Yeah.
And I, I knew in the back of my head that it was going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of learning and a lot of being a student. But at that time, I wasn't I
You
wasn't
didn't
there
want to do
yet.
it.
Yeah.
No.
I was there for the clout and for the party and like the fun side of things. And that was about as far as I wanted to dip my foot in. And I really wish, like looking back, like I wish I could like have a straight up conversation like, dude, if you start producing now in like 5 years, you're gonna be so happy that you did. And that's kind of a message to any aspiring producer or musician. Like, as scary as it is to like learn something and as hard and difficult as it is to learn something, starting earlier is only going like making that commitment and deciding to decide like is only going to help you and get you there quicker or help you to actually achieve and actualize those dreams that you have. But it is really hard. Like it's a huge commitment. And I just don't think I was ready to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that age.
Yeah. And so you were partying. Why? Because you still were dealing with childhood trauma.
Yeah, just like shit with like the family stuff. It felt good. It was like I didn't. I thought that that's just what you did,
Mm.
and I didn't really think of any other way that I wanted to spend. Like it's so inducing and like it's so easy to fall into of just like that cycle of like of just partying like and always feeling good and always feel like never really looking at issues at hand and like instead of like looking and processing at struggles that you're having or like things that have happened or broken relationships or really anything, like it's easier to just like turn to that thing and like and just escape. Like it's convenient as fuck and like I totally understand like addiction and alcoholism and all of those things like to their fullest degree because it's like I was there like would be the last one up. I would be alone like partying and it's like it's really sad but I just thought that's like I can handle it, like I can do that, I can function like this. And for a while I could like through college, like I graduated, I did fine, like I got a job after college. and I moved back to Denver and wasn't really doing anything in music. Was really just kind of, yeah, just sending it like every day of the week, and trying to balance this job. And at the time, I got into what was my drug of choice, which was benzos, and that like unlocked something in myself. Like it felt like when I would take that drug specifically, like it was like, oh, this is how everyone else must feel. Like I
Mm.
feel no anxiety. I don't feel any like I'm not stressed at all about anything. Like all those things that I was worried about are gone. And like I just feel like I can talk to people. I'm comfortable in my own skin. Like it got me to this place where like I felt like I cracked this code of like, oh my God, if I could just be like this all the time. So I'm just gonna be like this all the time.
Mm.
And it was a mess, man. Like I burned a ton of relationships. I
What did that look like at the time?
burning
No,
relationship.
no, no, no. Like you being a mess. Like you had a job.
Yeah, like I had a job.
Like why do you say you're a mess?
I just was like constantly fucked up, and like I was never sober. Like I was never like I never felt any emotion besides being high and being loaded. And like that is not how a human is designed to like live. And I would go out and like I would be like at first like it was like like I was managing,
Yep.
and it wasn't like I started doing this thing and then all of a sudden like everything unraveled. It was a slow burn of like this process that like something internally was happening where it was very like I didn't see it at the time, but it was very clear that it was like not good and it was not sustainable.
Yep.
Um, and I had a job at the time, but like I was missing work all the time and I hated what I was doing. I was working in finance and I was working at this big at Charles Schwab, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name, but
It's okay.
maybe we can cut
We'll
that
figure
out.
it out.
Yeah. But I was working at this big institution and I was just dealing with like pissed off people all the time that are like, they're the only reason that you call a 1-800 number is when you're pissed off about something. And I was the person on the other end of the phone that was
Mm.
like handling that, and specifically about money. And like, no one's ever excited to be losing money. And
Sure.
so I would roll into this desk job, like hungover and feeling like absolutely awful. And I would just have to pick up the phone and get like yelled at by people for like 8 hours. Then I go home and just get obliterated. And it started
Mm.
that cycle. I was living alone in an apartment and no one could really see what I was doing. And it was around that time COVID happened. And that's when things really started to unravel. This is like over the course, we're like 3 years out of college at this point.
Okay.
And that was when, yeah, just like the world stopped and I was just in this apartment, just like every day, just like doing drugs and like drinking start to finish every day.
Wow.
And it was a really sad and like lonely existence. Um, and it was, I didn't know what else to do. Like, I didn't have any other tools. Like, I started when I was 16 and the party didn't stop till I was like 26.
Mm.
And it was just constant. And I was like DJing at the time and like I wasn't getting booked anywhere, but like I was still like going back to music as like this outlet, but there was this added saturation of like, or I guess dilution of like, I was really under the influence when I was interacting with this thing that at one point was like a very spiritual exist or experience for me.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, man, it was like, it was sad. Like, there's no other way to slice it. Like, it was not good.
Yeah. It really sounds like you're unraveling, like you said, like it's a slow burn. Like it starts with, you know, benzos, and maybe it's just an after work thing, or maybe it starts with drinking rather, and it's just an after work thing, and then it slowly trickles down, and then into COVID, just
Yeah.
unleashed.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And it got to a point where like, I started having seizures if I couldn't find, like if I ran out of that drug, like I would start having seizures from withdrawal, and I was alone in my apartment, and I would like wake up on the floor and my dog would just be like laying next to me.
Oh my gosh.
And still I didn't see any problem with it. I thought the problem was that I didn't have enough connections to get more. And
Wow.
yeah, it's fucked up, man. And so that COVID, like during COVID, I guess the one silver lining was I met one of my closest friends. His name's Ben King, and he's now a talent buyer in Indianapolis. But him and I were hanging out, and we were drinking some beers. He wasn't really doing the thing that I was doing. He was much more, his head was screwed on. We'd get drunk and whatnot, but we decided that we were going to start a music festival during COVID. And what it was, the idea was, hey, let's get our friends and let's go up to the mountains and let's go camping for a weekend. And we'll like bring the decks, and a couple of our friends play guitar. So like we'll just kind of have a powwow around the campfire with like our homies and like bring a generator or whatever. And so we started looking at how we could do that. And around that time, I got fired from the job that I was working.
Why? Underperformance?
I missed like 80 days of work in the first like 6 months of the year. And I had FMLA'd myself because I had a seizure at work. And so there was like this, I got like FMLA, and like they had to like really build a case against me to like fire me because
Wow.
of like legal reasons.
Yeah.
And so they finally did it, which like, thank God they did. Like I wouldn't put up with that shit, but I got fired. And so I was just like kind of like this, we decided to call it the Kaya Project. And that was kind of my focus, was like, okay, well, like we're gonna do this and like see what happens. So we started looking at the logistics, like, okay, what do we need to like do to like have this happen? It's like, okay, generator, speakers, like decks, like spot to do it. And so we started to like fill in all of the blanks, and we like reached out to this production company. It was like, hey, can we like rent some monitors? And this dude's Skinny. He's the man. He runs a company called SSS Productions, and he does a lot of stuff with AEG, a lot of stuff with like UMS, Underground Music Showcase in Denver. And he answers and he's like, listen, man, like my company is really hurting. Like I haven't had a booking in almost 2 years. And so if whatever you want to pay, that's fine. I'm going to like deck you out. I'm going to bring a 60-foot or a 30-foot stage, 2 monitor racks, like 6 subs, and like I'll hook you up with all of my shit, and like we'll keep doing this, and you can pay me more when you want to pay me more, like when you can pay me more.
Sick.
So like we're like, okay, dope. That checks that box. And so we started inviting all of our friends, and we hit up one of our friends. His name's Sam Walker. His band is called the Clay Street Unit, and they're like huge now. They're opening for String Cheese in a couple weeks, or at some point at Red Rocks, and like they're doing headlines now. But they played their first gig at the first Kaya project. Like they gathered and created their band for Kaya.
Wow.
And so we like had them. They played bluegrass. Like I played, I played a DJ set, and like we had like 60 or so people come out, and we like found this like super cool spot in Hartselle, Colorado. And we just like threw this like fucking Renegade. It was sick. It was
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, that's sweet. Like, let's do it again. So like 2 months later, we did it again. We had like 150 people come out.
Wow.
And then like right after that, the summer ended, and then COVID ended. And so we were like, we started planning our third event. And our third event, like, it ended up being like 500 people. We like had Skinny bring up like 2 stages. We had like a full talent bill. We booked all of the talent ourselves. Like we were negotiating sponsorships with like different breweries and like weed companies, and we had like vendors coming up, and it was a super cool experience for me to like be a part of that as someone that was like orchestrating it and like negotiating these relationships, and like and kind of being a contributor to the scene for really the first time, besides like playing some music here and there. And it opened my eyes to like the management, the business side, like all the things that happen behind the scenes to make the event that we go to like happen. And
Mhm.
it's like a lot of logistics. Like you got to
Sure.
get like event insurance, you got to have like different contingency plans, you got to have like logistics for parking and camping, like all these things. And it's just me and my buddy Ben like doing this. And like I'm proud to say we did it pretty fucking well. Like it was cool. It was a really cool time to be working on that.
Yeah.
And we weren't making any money. It was just for the love.
Sure.
And yeah, it was cool.
To throw a Renegade Festival, I feel like you got to be in it just for the love of the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Like all the artists were too. Like
Yeah.
it's like, dude, we can pay you like $100. And they're like,
Yeah.
that's fine. Like, don't worry about it.
That's really cool.
People just want to be a part of it.
Yeah, great vibes. And so at this point, like, this was your main focus, and then were you still unraveling? Like,
Yeah.
what was
Oh, yeah.
happening behind the scenes?
Yeah, 100%. Like it was like I wasn't working, so like this was kind of my only thing that I had going for myself. I was on unemployment and was kind of riding that out, and yeah, things were unraveling more so than they were before. Like I was staying up all night. I was like doing stupid shit at like 6 a.m. And yeah, it was like it was still the same, but like I was still kind of like functioning to at least a degree where I could like kind of work on something. But
Did anyone in like your circle or your family like know the extent of what you were going through?
I think so. I think a lot of people knew, and I think a lot of people were worried. My family definitely was worried and knew what was going on. And you know, I think it's a really tough thing to approach someone that's in that state and say, hey, like, I'm worried about you. And I definitely wouldn't have listened, but I had friends that did have that conversation with me.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't personally see a problem with it. And one thing that I've learned in my recovery is like that people aren't going to listen until they're ready. And like going to chase someone down and try to tell them, like force it through their head, is only going to be met with either it's going to backfire. Like some people may be able to listen, but it's been my experience in working with other addicts and other alcoholics that like people aren't going to listen until they're ready. And I wasn't ready. And it really, really sucks that I wasn't, but I don't think it's anyone's fault or anyone's, you know, doing other than my own.
Yeah. So bridge the gap for us. People are approaching you. Hey, we're worried about you. You're like, no, it's okay. Or you brush it off. And at the same time, you're still unraveling. Now you're working on Kaya. And you don't have that full-time job anymore. How do we get from there to the change that took place? Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Tom's no longer doing that stuff.
I am not doing that stuff. Yeah. I should have prefaced that, I think.
It's okay.
Ago. But yeah, so we like threw this big event and I was riding that high for a while. And my addiction led me to this place where I was living in pretty much like a trap house to some degree, but it was like a DJ trap house. It was me and like 3 other DJs all living in the same house, and we would just like throw ragers in our basement every weekend, like afters for everything. And I was living there and my unemployment was about to run out. Like my lifeline for financial stability was like, I could see it on the horizon. Like I withdrew my entire 401k during that time from the few years that I was working. And I used that as like a floatant to like get myself through and to afford to buy drugs and to keep partying. And I saw it on the horizon, and in the back of my head, I like realized that like, okay, this is like the jig is up. Like something's going to happen. Like, and around that time I started experimenting with a new drug. It was cheaper than Xanax and it was everywhere. It was in everything, and it was fentanyl. And between the time that I started, like I tried fentanyl for the first time, like I snorted a blue. A blue is like a pill. I hope this isn't too triggering. Maybe we can put a trigger warning on.
We will put a trigger warning.
Yeah, that'd be great. But the time between the time I tried that for the first time and I guess when I got sober, it was a period of like 2 months. Like I completely, like, whatever semblance of like stability that I had left completely went wayward within 2 months. And I, on the night of January 31st, 2022, um, I was sitting alone in my room. I just picked up and I saw the writing on the wall. Like, it's over. Like, I was running out of money. Like, I had like maybe a month left on my unemployment. And I like sat down, and it wasn't something that I really premeditated, but I sat down and I wrote a suicide note. And I just started to like do everything that I just bought. And it was like it was happening, like it was someone else doing it. Like, I wasn't fully conscious of what I was doing. And I just like I literally was so deep in my addiction that in my head the two choices that I had were either die, like the two choices were either die or get sober, and I would rather die. Like, that's where my addiction took me. And I just decided to go the path of least resistance. And during the process of all of that, I had what us people in recovery like to call a moment of clarity. And I literally snapped in through the fog, through everything, and was crystal clear for about 30 seconds. And I looked at what was in front of me. I looked at the note. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And I called a friend. It was like 4 a.m, and they answered. And I was like, hey, I'm not good. I really need you to be here right now. And they showed up. They came and they found me. I was overdosing. And yeah, it was really, really scary. And they took me to, I had a seizure. I was vomiting a lot of blood. And they took me to the hospital and they grabbed the note and they brought me in and they showed the doctor the note. And the doctor put me on a 5150, which is a suicide hold. And they put me into not a padded room, but a locked room, basically a jail cell with a table. And I sat there for 12 hours. And no one checked on, like, they had cameras, and like no one came in. And I just sat there and I wrote out this. They gave me Narcan. They gave me a bunch of things to like stabilize me. And they just left me there. And I was just alone with that. And at some point I fell asleep. And I woke up and I was in the psych ward, and I was sitting there, and it had snowed the night before. This was February 1st. And I was sitting there and I was looking at the snow melting on the roof, like out the window of this room that I had in the psych ward. And the sun was shining, and I just was like, okay, like option one didn't, like, I can't do that. It's not in the cards. Like, I want to live. And so I started working on option two, which was getting sober. And my whole family flew in.
You need a second? We could take a second.
No, it's all good. Yeah. My mom, my brother, and my sister flew in, and we all sat down in this hotel room after I got released from the psych ward. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do? And my brother's like, come move in. And so I moved in with him and moved out to Salt Lake City. And his one stipulation was that I had to stay sober in his house. He had his son, my nephew, and so I was going to do that. And I was struggling at the time. Like, really, I didn't have any tools. I didn't know how to be how to operate sober. Like I'd gone my entire
Mhm.
life like in a haze. And
Wow.
my brother recommended that I go to a 12-step program. He had gone to one at one point and he was like, I don't know if it'll help, but like I think it'll I think you'll learn a lot about what like how to operate. And so I started going to a 12-step group and
Can I just pause you there?
yeah,
Because I just want to acknowledge everything that you just shared and how much strength and courage and vulnerability that you just exhibited to like get that story out. Like I'm sitting here like barely holding it together. Like there was a
same.
couple times where I teared up and like I just want to acknowledge how open you were about that because who knows, dude, maybe there's someone out there listening that needs to hear this, that needed to hear your story, or maybe they listened to this in 2 months and they need to hear it then. Like, thank you for sharing that because it's so, it's just so strong and so courageous. And we talked about it before, but I think vulnerability is everything. And it's not easy to come on to be public about any of our deepest darkest days and here you are just talking about it. So like truly like I want to acknowledge that and thank you.
Yeah, man. Of course.
And to the heroes, right, that 4 a.m. call, like
Yeah.
when you said that I was like, oof, like there was a chance that person didn't answer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or like any number one things, the 30 seconds of clarity, like
Divine intervention, man.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt the
No.
AA stuff, but like I really wanted to pause like and just share that because yeah.
Yeah. I I appreciate that. And I think in getting into the gory details of this isn't to I guess romanticize or to like make it like I don't know, you've heard of like murder porn. Like I don't want to try and make this interesting because it's so nasty and brutal. I think the point of me saying all of this and telling this story is with that hope that there is someone that this can help. And I just hope if someone's listening, like change is entirely possible. And it's like I've been there. Like I feel you. And yeah, just know that you're not alone. Like there is another way. And it leads to a really beautiful life. As scary and as hard as it is, it's possible to do something else and to do it a different way, even when that's all you know.
Yeah. For someone that's seen some of the deepest, darkest holes, for you to be able to say that, I think is really telling and meaningful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, another spoiler, but Tom's been sober for years now, and so we obviously would love to hear about that process. Um, but yeah, like that was the lowest of lows. And there your brother comes in again, like we talked about him as the theme of just like being that support for you. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful that, I mean, it's beautiful that your family was there for you.
Yeah.
Like, of course, we all think like, hey, family's family, they're going to be there no matter what. But I don't know. I think like some families, some people might not be around for like some really intense drug use and some really dark days. And so for them to be like willing and ready to be like, okay, we're here to help you, and then your brother to take you under his wing essentially is really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm incredibly fortunate to have had that be the outcome.
Yeah.
There's so many people who don't have a second chance. And, it's, the way that I can see it is there's a reason to that. Like something bigger than myself has decided that there's a reason that I get to continue on. And I live every day with that in the back of my mind. That this is all like I'm living on borrowed time. And the only thing that I can think of to try and pay that back is to try and help someone else, and
Mm.
to try and tell the story and try to be open and vocal about that. And yeah, it's completely something bigger than myself.
Mm.
And so I try and keep that present in a lot of what I do. And when I'm pissed off that I'm unloading the dishwasher, or that I have to get up and go into the office, or whatever it is, like, I try my hardest to like stay in that gratitude. And the whole tagline for my project has been rooted in gratitude, and
Mm.
gratitude is the attitude. And like, those are things that I take very seriously. And I think with gratitude and having, like, I am entirely grateful for the experience that I had, like, through all of that. Like, I think it's really easy to get sucked into like thinking, well, like, this happened to me, and like, I'm pissed off that I let myself do that, and like, how could all my friends and like my family like all let me do that, and like no, I entirely have love and empathy for the person that I was and the decisions that I made, because I think, like, without that, like, I I learned a lot about myself through that. And
Yeah.
there's no other way to like to get that intimate. I mean, well, there are plenty of other ways to get intimate with yourself on that level, but for me, that was how I became like, I came to understand myself, and I came to understand my vulnerabilities and my sensibility, like how sensitive I was, and like all these things was through that. And so I have gratitude for that experience as a whole.
Yeah. Like that's beautiful. How does someone get there? Like that is like, how can someone look back on that time and have basically nothing but gratitude?
Yeah, through the 12-step group, honestly. And through a lot of work and a lot of healing. And so like, I got into the 12-step group when I was living in Salt Lake City, and um, it was exactly what I needed. Like, it was a community of people who, like, I heard their stories, and it was like, I thought that I was the only person in the world that had felt that way and experienced that. Like, one of the things is, like, one of the things that I heard that I remember standing out in my mind was, someone was talking about how they were at a dinner, and they were drinking, and everyone was drinking, and people at the dinner table, like, the dinner ended and everyone was leaving, and people didn't finish their drinks. And it blew that person's mind that people would leave alcohol in their cup, like, that they had paid for or that they had bought. And I was like, holy shit. Like, dude, I think that way. I I understand that. Like,
Mm.
I'd never really, I didn't think that that's how other people thought. Like, I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
And so like, I just like fell into this group, and it was like a young person's group of alcoholics and addicts. And one thing about 12-step recovery that I'll mention, for anyone that's like interested, is, even though there are different groups that, are specifically aimed at different vices, you can go to any of them, like, regardless of what your thing was,
Mm.
or even if you're curious, or even if you think you might have an issue, or like, you just want to know more. Like, it is an open door to go and listen to other people talk about their addiction. And that was kind of confusing to me, because I went to a 12-step group that wasn't necessarily for the things that I did. And the reason I keep saying a 12-step group is, one of the traditions of the whole ecosystem of recovery 12-step groups is to keep the names out of media. Like, it's really kind of taboo to like mention the names outwardly, because it isn't something that they want people to advertise. It isn't
Mm.
things that, like, you don't want to see flyers up on the wall for like this thing, or like commercials on TV about like this thing that's out there. Like, people are supposed to go to it when they're ready. And that goes back to like what we were talking about with my friends and the close people in my life that like sat me down and talked to me and were like, hey, there's an issue. It was like, I'm not ready to hear that. Like those rooms are for people who are ready, or at least think they might be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there's some reluctance, like it's to like, I think it's for people that want to be there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was, part of the program is spiritual in nature. And part of it is defining a higher power that I can understand. And what that looked like for me and for a lot of other people was defining almost like I wouldn't say a religion because religion is very dogmatic, but finding a higher power, a spiritual thing that is bigger than myself, that is not me, and connecting to that. And the whole program is spiritual in nature, that it is about deepening your relationship to whatever that thing is you choose. For me personally, it's the universe. And like the way I think of that is in the 5 or 7 billion years, whatever it is, that the universe has existed that we know of, we are sitting on a rock that is so infinitely small in the scope of like everything happening in the universe. Like you think about the different galaxies, the different everything. And we're sitting here in this room having a conversation about my addiction and my story. Like the mathematical probability of that happening it's such a scale that it is impossible that this is just a fluke, a chance of nature. And for me, I like find solace in that. It's like, okay, there is something like driving that. And that was what I grounded myself in, was there is something larger than myself that is at play. And I can deepen my relationship to that, and I can act in a way that honors that, and I can help other people and live a life that is in service of other people and full of gratitude, and really try to make myself closer to whatever that is.
Mm. And was this early on in the 12-step process? It's like what grounded you into the whole program?
Yeah. So it's the third step
Okay.
of the process. And I remember when I did that, and I was driving home from a meeting, and it had just rained, and it was like the sun was setting, and I was listening to Closey, and I like the song. Like Closey is a phenomenal. She's just a incredible producer just to begin with.
Yeah.
But I like the song dropped, and I just like had this moment where I looked out the windshield. I was driving on the highway. There wasn't a single other car, and the sky was just like fucking beautiful. And I just like realized in that moment, I was like, I'm here, I'm alive. Like, and it clicked, and I was like, that's it. And I like in that moment, I was like, I knew, okay, like this is real. Like I felt this complete reassurance that everything was going to be okay. And I have held on to that. Like I've held on to that and just kept working the program. And, you know, part of it as well was, you know, going through and making amends to people that I had done harm to. And I think that was another experience that was really, really powerful for me to like go hat in hand and be like, I did this, and this. Like I lied to you. I was a terrible friend. I left you like hanging on this. I like, and just listed all of this out. And instead of saying like, I'm sorry, I went, and the program tells you this, is I like went and I was like, how can I make this right? And regardless of what they said, it was like, okay, I'm going to do that. Like whether it was financial restitution, whether it was like, hey man, like you really need to like go and talk to this person too. Like that would really mean a lot to me. Like all of like, it was like, I had to go and do that. And instead of just like apologizing, which think I got pretty good at like apologizing for shit because it was like I was always fucking things up. But it was really, an exercise of like, okay, like, yeah, I'll do that. And there was one in particular that I had with one of my childhood friends. And I went to him and I explained like, hey man, I did you wrong on like this, this, and this. And, like I am working this new program. Like I'm trying to change myself and like, what can I do to make these things right? And his response was, all you can do is keep doing what you're doing. Like, even though I had like slighted him and like been a bad friend and like prioritized my addiction over our friendship and like all these things, he was like, yeah, man, like this is fucking great. Like just keep doing that. And that will be enough to like, to change, to make things okay with us. And I think through the process of going through the 12 steps, I learned a ton about myself, and I learned how to operate as like an adult, taking accountability, being honest, being transparent, and like really learned a lot about just what it means to be like an adult and how to operate without, being super fucked up. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good pause point because I have a question about something you said prior. That moment when you're in the car on the highway and the Closey song comes on and everything just feels like it's okay. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to be. Did that like plant a seed in you? Like how did that experience, like how impactful was that experience?
It was very, very impactful because at the time I wasn't sure if I was doing things right. I wasn't sure, like, I just wasn't sure about a lot of things. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I didn't know, like, I didn't have a job. I was like living in the basement of my brother's house. Like, I didn't have a whole lot, like, I didn't have any friends. Like, I was very alone, but I didn't feel alone in that moment. Like,
Yeah.
and and I mean to this day, like I don't feel alone when I really want to tune in and drop into something that's bigger than myself. I now have like an ability to do so, and I think having that experience just allowed me to. It just set me up to be able to have that superpower. Like I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful because I didn't fully understand that like the first time that you explained it.
Yeah.
But this is really like now an anchor point, right?
Yeah.
It's like this happened, you felt this. This was such a powerful experience. It's like, oh, okay, now I don't feel alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It was impactful. And it really laid the basis, the foundation for my spiritual, I guess my spiritual journey to begin. And I will say that I am no longer in a 12-step group. I was in it for, I'd say like 3 years consistently. I went through the 12 steps. I sponsored other guys. I told my story to rooms full of people. And it was a really, really, like, I wouldn't be who I am today without that process. And I couldn't recommend it enough to anyone who is struggling and going through something.
Yeah.
But for me, I got to a point within that group where it felt like I kind of outgrew the pot that I was growing in, where like it gave me the general tools of like how to live a spiritual life and how to, be a human being and like a functioning member of society, and a lot of really great things, how to like I said, take accountability, be honest, like help others. And it really instilled these principles in me that I still carry to this day. And to some degree, I felt like there was more that I could be doing, at least in my healing path and in my spiritual journey. And for me,
more than like just being a participant in this 12-step program.
yeah, that I guess the way that I was starting to see it was like kind of, it was in conflict to some degree of what they were, they recommend entire and complete sobriety. And I think for me, absolutely needed it for 3 years. And for me, that was like, I needed to learn how to function without anything, like with no coping, no devices to other than just myself. And, but I kind of got to a point where I was reading a lot about just spiritual practices, about different, I guess, different medicines and different things that people use to have a spiritual experience. One of them being plant medicines. And around 2.5 years, 2 years into my recovery, I met my fiance, Anya, and she and I, like, the first time that we met on Hinge, which was kind of hilarious, but
It's an advertisement for Hinge right there.
yeah, seriously.
Wait, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Was music in your life, back in your life at this point?
Yeah, I forgot. This is a music podcast.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I know we dropped it.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
But like, I was it at all like a part of your recovery?
Yeah, 100%. And I can't believe I kind of breezed past that. I got talking about some of the life things, or I guess the recovery things, but it was 100% a part of it. So when I got sober, I was sitting in my brother's basement. I went back to school to become a software engineer. And at that point, I was like, I'm gonna learn how to produce music. Like, I'm gonna fucking do it. Cause like, I've been putting this off for so long that I really like, I have the time, I have nothing else to do. So I'm gonna do it. And so I started to learn how to make music, and I had the general understanding of what I needed to do that from my days in Lyft Ticket. And so I started to learn, and about I don't know, maybe 1.5 years in, I released my first EP under my old project, which was Bluer, my last name. And so I dropped this EP, and I moved back to Denver, and I threw a show. I did a headline at Larimer Lounge for like an EP release party. And it was this, like, I can't believe I didn't talk about any of this, but
Okay.
it was just, it was like so perfect. I moved back to Denver to like, was on this like, this arc of like making things right, and like just trying to come back and like heal all these wounds that I had created. And I released this music, and it's like, it just worked out so perfectly. And one of the songs is like kind of good. The other two are dog shit, but I didn't care. Like I made them, and like, I was so excited about that. Like it was super cool to like see that. And like, I think a lot of producers don't release music for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And I felt like I was catching up because I had been like around and affiliated with music for so long that I just was like, I gotta fucking do this. Like, I gotta get this out. And so I set a release date 6 months from when I decided I was going to release an album. I didn't have any music written, and I had just been like tinkering around in Ableton. And by setting a deadline and announcing it and making it public, like, it was like, okay, like, I got to do this. And I learned enough, and like, it motivated me enough to like, to put music out for the first time.
Wow. How did that feeling of producing and then like playing a headline show compare to the feeling when you were back in high school and college and getting that, first feedback of like, oh wow, I really love, doing shows or playing music?
Yeah, at first it wasn't there. Like,
Oh,
yeah, it was like, dude, this sucks. Like, this is hard. And like, this sounds awful. And like, other people's music sounds really good. And it was a lot of like self-doubt, and like, it was really, really hard. Um, and so it wasn't there, but I was really determined. Like, I've been putting this off for years, and like I'm gonna keep doing this. And I think I knew that the end result at some point was going to be, okay, I'm gonna make something that I do like. And I still don't make music that I like. Like, I always think it could be better, but like I knew that the end result was at some point I was gonna be able to play my own music out at a show, and I was gonna have that feeling, but it wasn't there immediately, which is such a counter to like doing a lot of drugs, because drugs are like an immediate, like,
Yep.
they get you that good feeling immediate. It's like instant gratification. And so to work on something that I didn't like it didn't feel like it was rewarding at first.
Yeah, what kept you going? Like,
I,
did you think about quitting? And that's a question from the last guest. I'm doing a segment where the guest on the previous guest asked a question to the next guest without knowing who the next guest is. So one of the question was there a time like you thought about quitting or you got almost like close to it? I'm just curious, like, what was that like on those days where you just didn't want to do it, you weren't really enjoying it?
yeah. I just I knew that I wanted to be in music. Like, I knew I wanted to produce music. I knew I wanted to create something. And so it just I had this knowing of like that closey the moment with like the closey song, like the moments from going to shows, hundreds of shows over the course of my life, like there I just like knew like I want to do this. And it may not be rewarding now, but I think once I can articulate myself in a sense of like creating music like this, I know it's going to be rewarding.
Yeah.
And
Shout out Closey, by the way.
dude,
We love
yeah,
you.
we love Closey. Closey, come on this podcast.
Hey, that would be great.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I just, I knew. And I think looking back at it, like, it wasn't all that long ago, but I am like grateful for that process. Cause like it's been teaching me and continues to teach me that you're not always going to get instant gratification out of things in life. Like, it's going to be a process for the things you really want. And whether that be with relationships or with family dynamics or with anything that you really put your mind to, like, if it doesn't work at first, like, if you really know that it's going, like, that you want to do that, that's not going to stop you. And like,
how do you really know though?
I just innately somewhere in my soul, that 6-year-old kid in me, like, knows, yeah, like, keep doing it.
Is that
Like,
is there a sensation in your body that gives you that feedback? Because like I'm thinking about the people that are doing this. Maybe they're questioning right now in their life that they're producing, or is this for me? Do I want to be doing this? How does one know?
I don't know how to describe that. I mean, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I just I have a lot of comfort in the sense that, like, I believe in myself, like, to this, that I can do this. And it is tough and it's challenging, and it's, like learning anything. Like, it's not going to be good at first. And yeah, I don't know if I can tell you an exercise to do to, like, to coax that out. It just seems to be somewhere deep in me. And I I think it relates back to like that, like those moments with artists, like when you're seeing someone live and like you have that connection. And even if it isn't directly with the artist that's playing, but like to the music or the people around you, and it's like, I want to create this for other people. Like, I want to put my take on this. And I think just like chasing that and hold it, like harboring that and like using that and having that at your, like, like very close to the front of your consciousness as much as you can, is only going to help convince yourself that, like, yeah, you can do this. But if anyone's like questioning whether to do it or not, I think a couple questions that I would have to ask yourself are like, why are you doing it? And like, what is the outcome that you are trying to achieve? And if it's, like, oh, I want to be famous and like I want to like sign autographs and like take pictures, like, that's cool. Like, I don't know if that's enough to like to do it, you know?
Mm.
And I'm nowhere near big enough to really be talking about like what it means to make it and like all of these success metrics and everything like that. But for me personally, like those are the questions that I ask myself in those moments of like, should I quit? It's like, no, I want to create something where I can have that moment with other people and like create a space and a community around the sound that I've made and like have this I don't know, like um this profound connection to like random people. Like I want to be able to do that. And also I'm writing music to like hype myself up like at this point where like if I'm having a shitty day, like I'll write a song to try and like hype myself out of that. Or if
Mm.
I'm having a great day, I might write a song that is really sad for some reason. It's like, okay, what's going on there? Like I kind of use it as a way to articulate like, okay, what's going on in my life and what's going on emotionally.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a second form of therapy to some degree where it's
Yeah.
like I'm identifying emotions before I'm consciously aware that they're there.
Yeah. It's a release. It's like almost like a subconscious release.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that makes me think. Okay. So we left your story where
Mm.
you were Bluer
Yeah.
and Larimer.
Mm-hmm.
And is that you mentioned Anya, your fiance, now fiance.
Yeah.
Like doesn't sound like Bluer, the name the project Bluer is still going. So how do we bridge the gap to now and from that moment?
Yeah. So, I was releasing music under Bluer. I played some cool shows, and things were going pretty well. Like, in the sense that like I was getting some gigs and like was kind of making a name to some degree in the Denver market. And I reached out to my manager, my now manager, Aiden. He runs a group called Straight Edge Management, and they had just started, and I'd been following Aiden for a while on Instagram because I'd followed some of his other artists, and he was starting his own management team and company, and they had like an open application, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna apply, see what happens, and so we like hopped on a phone call. He's also a recovery guy, and has a lot of intimate knowledge about that. We really connected on that and like talked about how music has played a role in our lives and through recovery and all these things. Um, and I ended up getting signed. And so I had a manager then, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, so I called like my brother and,
And you never had a manager before, correct?
no,
Okay.
I kind of worked with a guy out on the East Coast. He was like technically my manager, but like there's nothing formal. He was just kind of helping my project out. He like found me on SoundCloud. He's like, I believe in your sound, like wholeheartedly. And shout out Vin, you're the man. I love you, Vinny. But he's like, he just fully believed in my project, and so he like helped me with getting some gigs and whatnot. But I saw a big gap in, okay, like I'm here now, but like I want to build a community. And like I didn't know how to get from point A to point B of like I want to build like an audience, I want to build like a community, and I want it to be like a conscious community. And so I reached out to Aiden because I had seen him take one of his other artist projects from like inception essentially to like touring America and like a full community built around that. And so I reached out, I applied, I got signed to their roster, and we've kind of gone to work on building that community. And that's, you know, like what that looks like with different content, branding, all of these different things that I'd never considered. But to answer your question about the Bluer thing, so I called my brother when I got signed and I was like, hey dude, like I'm stoked. I got signed. Like, I don't know what's like, if this is going to change things. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but like, this is really cool for me. And he was like, that's like awesome, man. Like, I'm really, really happy for you. And, I'm just a little curious, like, do you think that our last name is like going to become like a commonplace name, like associated only to your artist project?
Mm.
And I was like, I mean, hopefully, like that'd be sick. Like I would love that. And he was like, honestly, like I don't really want that. Like I can't change my last name. Like I have like my nephew, and he just didn't like he didn't want the last name to be only associated to,
Mm-hmm.
like, he wanted the family name to be the family name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, like I'd never really considered that. Like, it's very selfish. Like I had just kind of gone with it and like built this project. I never asked permission. I never like talked to my family about it or anything. And so I was like, okay, like, yeah, I totally understand that and I get that. And so I talked with Aiden and we came up with the name Blossom. And, you know, my thing has always been sunflowers. I kind of use that as a motif, like to relate to like my spirituality. And whenever I see them out like in the wild, like driving around or like out on a hike, whatever it is, like I always see that as a sign from this higher power, like you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing.
Mm.
And so I use that as like kind of a cue for myself to like root back into like my into my healing path and like
Mm.
try, and they're so common, like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's like a really nice exercise for myself to be able to do that and like ground back in. So the name Blossom just kind of came naturally. Um and I love the name.
Yeah, I think
it
it's great.
fits. Yeah.
It's funny. I've been actually, maybe this is synchronicity, maybe not, but like over the last 3 months, I've been using the word blossom kind of describe like the shift that I've had and ultimately what led me to starting this podcast. I think it's a great word, and I think it's a great message and symbol, and I love the sunflowers and that being a sign from the universe.
Yeah.
So like okay, so that brings us to the present day, just about, right?
Just about, yeah. We're almost there.
Yeah. Okay, so like the Blossom Project's been going on for what, 6 months or so?
I think I went live with it in May.
About that.
About
Maybe
that,
a little
yeah.
bit more.
Yeah, so like
Okay.
6 months.
Okay. And like, was there a distinct change? Like, what came with that? Like, what change came with that outside of the name change?
Yeah, so I had written a bunch of music that I was like staging for, like I was gonna do like an album, and then I was gonna do like a bunch of remixes, and so I'd like written all this music ahead of time, and I like had sent that was like my submission to Aiden and to the Straight Edge group, um, and so I was like, yeah, I want to like release all this and like do all this, and he was like, let's not do that. Let's like, here's my idea for it. And we kind of came up with like a release calendar, which I had never thought of before, like content strategy, like branding strategy. And really the conceptual shift outside of like the music was like, I want to build a community of like conscious people and people who are using music as a way to heal and like a way to like, the same way that I use music, like that I go and I like when I'm really feeling a show, like I lose my shit and like I'll be totally dead cold sober and just like dancing harder than this most spun wook in the entire place. Like I use it as a place and like it is a where I feel comfortable being myself, my authentic self. And so I really wanted to like package that message and like that desire into something where I can share that and like try and find other people that are like that. And because like I've talked to so many people that are artists that are, you know, attendees, participants, like, you know, a lot of people in the scene and like involved in whatever capacity. And like so many people are doing this. And I feel like there are some artists who really do a good job of honoring that and like and like Ellis Dream is one. Like he really uses his platform to like really like try and get people to be a better version of themselves and to like act in service and like take care of themselves and like all these really cool principles. And I'm like, yeah, like I resonate with that. And so I wanted to do that for myself with this Blossom project and try and do it with my own sound and try and give back to the scene in that way.
That's really beautiful. Yeah, shout out Alice Dream, by the way. Like, we're gonna keep shouting out people because it's important.
All
credits need to be given when it's due, you know.
For sure.
I think that's really beautiful. Like, I think a theme that I'm sensing with you is like giving back, right? Because my guess is that comes from so many people helping you when like really they chose to, like they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's really what you're trying to do for people that might not even know they need it, right? Like, Closey wasn't like sitting down producing that song in the car thinking about, or whatever, sitting down in the studio producing that song thinking about Tom, right? But
Exactly.
that song like happened to just hit you at the right time and spark something in you that just is now blossoming, right? Or has blossomed but continues to blossom. And so I think it's beautiful that you want to take a similar approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that I like to think about is like one random act of like kindness, or one like concrete thing that you do for someone else, like that is not for you, with no external motive or anything like that. I feel like that has the power to make a ripple effect in our society, in our lives, in the people that we hang out with, our close ones. Like I think about it in the sense of like, I could smile and like give you like, dude, sweet pants. Like those are dope.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. And I think from that, there's a chance that like you now go out and you see someone else and they're like having a really bad day, but you compliment their shoes or their hat. And that turns that person's day around. And that person then goes on and like gives the barista at Starbucks a compliment. Like there is a sequence of events that can occur from kindness that like we don't understand the capability or like how it could all trickle and ripple like outward. And I think with enough of it and enough people doing kind things and being authentic and genuine and loving, like I think there's actually an ability to make changes in the world that is currently totally fucked. Like I think from the EDM scene, like there is a power to like really make a change. And that's why I love some of the Refined Wook videos. Like you're going out and being like rave dad and like complimenting people. Like I didn't even know you and I saw those videos and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like that's sweet. Like I love that. Like it's literally takes nothing out of your physical being to like do something nice for someone.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And for context, so those that don't know, I have a creator page on Instagram and TikTok, and some of the videos that I've made that have gone viral have been me just complimenting people at Red Rocks or at shows, and I was doing that before I started filming it because like I genuinely love the scene and enjoy like making people happy. It's very similar mindset of like if I just compliment one person, maybe that has a ripple effect to whoever. And I got some Ray-Ban Meta glasses and I was like, let me just start recording this. And people love it. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm happy because if someone sees that video, 4 million people have seen my most popular video. Maybe now they're going to be inspired at their next show to go out and compliment something. And that it compliments someone. And that is beautiful to me, especially in the world that we're living in now. So thank you for that. And synchronicity, this morning on my run, I don't run with headphones. Some people think that's crazy. Sorry.
That is crazy.
Okay, fine. I'm a little crazy. But come on, I listen to like weird robot noises. Like, what do we expect? So I'm on my run, and some guy was like, I don't remember what he said. He was on his bike. He zoomed past me and like gave me a compliment, and like that just made my morning. And I just like took a breath on my run. And I'm just like, gosh, I love the universe. Like that was just so nice. And yeah, like I think that like that I sadly have not gone off and complimented anyone else today, but like that really made me feel so good. And you know what? Maybe when I leave here today, I will go and compliment someone just because of that. Or maybe not. Doesn't matter. I still feel really good because some human decided to like share a moment of kindness with me, and I really appreciated that. So thank you for sharing that, and I completely agree.
Yeah, you complimented my hoodie.
Oh, I did. I did compliment the hoodie.
You did, unconsciously.
Yes, that's fair. Okay, so
See?
subconsciously it was planted in my brain. Didn't even realize it. It led to a compliment.
Yeah.
Cool. There's like been so much. Like there's just like so much depth in all of that we've talked about just to get to where we are today. And I guess like it would be I'm most curious to hear about like the plans that you have for BLOSSM, right? Like if we look forward 5 years, like where do you hope to be? And it sounds like you have a pretty decent vision.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think like continuing to build this community, and like part of that, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm we're doing a really cool event next month at Cap Hill Confidential, and it's called Ground or Rooted in Sound. I think Rooted in Sound, maybe Grounded in Sound. Sorry, it's still new. We haven't announced it yet, but we have a couple artists that are going to play some sets. But before that happens, we're going to have my fiance Anya and our friend Sierra do a sound bath and a guided meditation for like 45 minutes before we do any sort of musical thing. And the whole event is going to be donation based, and we're going to also collect donations at the event itself. And we're going to take all that money, and we're going to go to Costco and Goodwill, and we're going to buy gloves and socks and coats. We're going to go to the shelter downtown in Denver, and we're just going to like hand them out to people who need them.
Wow.
And so, like taking that event as a small example in the near future, I want to be doing that on a larger scale. Like I want to be able to go and maybe go on tour and like be able to do those events in every city that I'm touring in. And having that be a part of the entire BLOSSM project, where there is this there is a component that is a non-negotiable, where I'm giving back to communities and to trying to do good in other places and try and build something around that. And so I think, hopefully that I can get some traction and like continue growing this. And even if I don't, like, I'm still going to continue trying to help other people and be a positive force and a contributor to the scene that I've obviously gained so much from.
That's so beautiful. I will definitely be there, by the way. We'll have some more information somewhere, probably on your website, or
Instagram.
Yeah. We'll be on Instagram with that. Yeah, I love that so much. And I know some artists do that. Like I know Grizz does Grizzmas, right? And there are other artists that give back to the community. You're very big on that. Why don't you think everyone does that?
I am not sure. I think that in this day and age, I think a lot of people are like, I think as a producer and as an artist, like we already wear a lot of hats. Like we have to make content. We have to actually write music. We have to like figure out collabs. We have to figure out logistics with travel, with like with booking gigs, with like creating cover art. We have to make merch. We have to like, there are all these hats that every artist is wearing that I don't think a lot of people understand like how much is going into it. And like very few artists have a team to do that. Like, and even when you have a team, like you're still doing like a lot of that. Like I was before this just hanging out with Stasek, and he's opening for Nightmare. He's on tour with him, and Aiden's his manager, and he was showing me the cover art for one of his next songs coming out. And I was like, "Oh dude, that's sick. Like who did that?" He's like, "Oh, I did." Yeah. And it's like,
wow,
dude, like you're like on the rise right now. And like, like, I don't know, people kind of just assume that there's like all these people that are helping out, but like majority of the time for a lot of artists, like we are doing this ourselves. And all that to say, like, not like go us, also go us, but like I don't think a lot of people have like time or bandwidth to necessarily consider that, or to like put energy and effort into doing it right. And so I'm very small in my world. Like I'm a very small artist, and I'm hoping that will change in the future. It might not, but regardless of of what the future looks like, I want to build that into my regularly like scheduled like planning and allotment. Like I don't want to have to like add that onto my plate later and build the project. Like, okay, now that I have some pull, like I'm going to start doing this cool thing. Like I want that to be ingrained into the roots of like wherever this goes.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really hard. And I mean, just logistically, like it's hard to find a venue. It's hard to find facilitators to guide a meditation. It's hard to find a good cause to give to. It's like, there are a lot of things that go into it that aren't necessarily easy, or like, as easy as you'd hope. You still have to coordinate it, and that adds more to your plate if you're a big artist. Like doing a full scale tour, you're managing flights, you got hotels, you got to go to sound check, you got to go play a show, then you got to do the afters, then you got to go get on another flight, and then you do it all again the next day.
Yeah.
And so building in time to actually do that is like really, it's challenging. It takes a whole village to get that all figured out and ironed out to do it properly too. So I think that's probably like, if I haven't talked to any big artists to like ask them like, why aren't you doing charitable give back?
No, it was less a critical thing and more of just like a curiosity.
Yeah.
Some artists do and some artists don't, and I'm just kind of curious why those that do opt to and those that don't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I resonate with all of the artists that do that. Like, like Grizz is, I would say, one of my biggest influences. LS Dream, same deal. Like, especially in the recent like 3.5, I guess almost 4 years now, like since I've gotten sober, like just knowing a little bit of his story and like seeing how he operates in the scene, it's like, damn, like, yeah, like that only adds to how much I like his music. Like, yeah.
That's I listen, it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, right? To get a better understanding of who these humans are. And Grizz, I think, is one of them. That's one artist that's done a great job at, highlighting that and showcasing that. It's not just music with him. It's about a lot of other things, including giving back. And I think that's what so many people love about him, because they know him to be more of a well-rounded or multifaceted individual, and they like all of him, not just his music.
Yeah.
And so like the main goal is to like showcase these humans, you, and show all different sides of you. The hopes of, people will fall in love with all of you.
Yeah. No, and I really appreciate that. And I think I voiced that on our initial call, but like I think it is so awesome to have an opportunity to actually tell my story, like in a way that is not just a 20-second reel that, I throw together to put up on Instagram. Like the opportunity to do that is like, I've been wanting to do something like this and tell my story for a long time. And like, I've never had a platform to do it. So like, I really appreciate you doing this for like the community, for the scene, for all of the artists. Cause like every artist has like, I'm sure has a story and like has something to say and a message, and getting to know those people behind the decks is like, it's cool. Like I wish there was something before this, but like it's here now.
It's here now.
And you're growing, you're building it. And that's just
thank you.
Very, I applaud you.
Thank you so much. No, truly, it means a lot. Like it's validation. That's like, this is what I believe, right? I believe everyone has a story, but to hear it from people like yourself, it's like, okay, great. Let's keep going. Like, let's speak to more people and share their stories and hopefully inspire people. Like at the very least, you're going to feel more connected. Like I think people listening to this are going to feel more connected to you. At the very most, maybe you feel a little bit more inspired to pursue whatever you want to do. That could be music. That could be completely unrelated to music. Maybe there's some nugget of wisdom in your story that you pull away and you think you pull for, and take and think, okay, 2 weeks from now, you remember that one little thing that really stuck with you and that caused you to now do X, Y, and Z differently. I think that's awesome. Okay, so headlining, and at the same time headlining, you want to be doing charity events in each city. Is that like the dream kind of destination where we're going?
I think so, yeah. And like also like working with my fiance, she's a plant medicine facilitator and she does guided meditations. She's a yoga instructor, and like she's opened my eyes to this whole new world of like, of healing practices that are like really, they fill my cup like immensely.
Yeah.
And so just like continuing to work with her and figuring out ways that her and I can like combine and bridge the gap between like music and this world. And like she's learning production, and like I'm learning how, like I'm starting to help out in some of her ceremonies, like very minimal things. Like I'm not formally trained like she is. Like she's spent years of her life dedicated to like learning how to hold space and like serve medicines. But like just like this exchange that's happening between our passions and like our lives beyond just our relationship is really, it's something that's had a very deep and profound impact on me. And I like want to continue to like fuel the flame there and like try and build things and like open that door for other people the way that it's been opened for me. Like I met her on Hinge completely by chance, not knowing anything about that world. And like it's changed my life. And so I want to be able to like have like a stepping stone into that, and like an easy access way to do that for other people.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Good segue. Um, you know, knowing her and how she's come to your life, and now you guys are engaged. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
Like, what has she unlocked in you?
Yeah, so much, man. Like, she has really helped me to like grow in ways that I didn't know I needed to. And she has called me on my shit about a lot of things. Like, and she keeps me very honest. And like, we always are like, whenever we have like either conflict or like we're, trying to figure something out together, like we always go deeper than just like the surface. Like, it's like, okay, but like, where is that coming from? And I didn't understand that you could have that in a relationship. Like, in a lot of ways, prior to meeting Anya, like it was either like my way or like I'm gonna be pissed off. And it wasn't, which I mean sounds very selfish, and I was, but like I feel like it's opened my eyes a bit to like having a deeper relationship on a level that's like that is more than just like a relationship. She's like a life partner, and she's introduced me to like healing practices, her world, like in ways that I never expected to go down that path. Like, and one of those things has been like plant medicine ceremonies, and I can kind of talk through a little bit of what that looks like in my life, if you think that's a good place to go.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel it's been most like very impactful, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah. So the way that it kind of started was, so she facilitates a few medicines. Two of them are, one of them's cacao, which is just essentially it's chocolate. It's unprocessed and unrefined chocolate, and it's been a sacred medicine in the indigenous cultures for thousands of years, and it's a heart chakra opener. It also contains, she's gonna be so proud of me because I know all this, but like it contains they're the highest like naturally occurring amount of antioxidants than any other like known consumable like good. And it is a really cool ceremony to be a part of. Like it's the way that she structures her ceremonies are, we come in, we do a quick grounding, and we drink some cacao all together in a group, and then we sit and we meditate for like 45 minutes. And she plays the sound bowls, or she'll guide the meditation. Sometimes we'll do some like light yoga before the cacao, but it was a really kind of like a stepping stone into the world, where it was like into the medicine world, where it was like this really, I mean, it's not psychoactive. It's completely, harmless. It's like very good for you. And it does also, she honors the indigenous ways. Like she learned from indigenous people and like received their blessings to like serve the medicine. And so I think like having that reverence is also a really cool thing to like see. So I started sitting in cacao ceremonies, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Like I am meditating for longer than I ever do. And then at some point she served me hape, which is a sacred tobacco. And it's another medicine for thousands of years, has been used in the Amazon indigenous culture. And it's a really grounding medicine, and it's a little bit abrasive, and it's like, it's really uncomfortable at first. But once I was able to get past like the physical, uncomfortability of the medicine, like it is this just like, and you're like zoned for like 2 minutes, like just entirely familiar with every sensation in your body, in my body. And it's just like a really cool medicine. And I felt very connected to both of those. I was like, okay, so this is something, like, this is cool. So I just kind of stayed in that space for a while. And at this time I was still completely sober, like no nothing. And part of her introducing me to this world, she sits with other medicines as well, ayahuasca, yopo, bufo, which are the some psychedelic medicines. And I was always like, nope, not for me. Like I'm clean, I'm sober, I'm not doing that. This could
Mm-hmm.
potentially lead to a backslide, like all these things that I had heard in the 12-step recovery group. And and then in May of, I think, last year, she went on a retreat. She has a guy in Colombia. His name's Juan Pablo. He's a shaman and a taita. He serves medicine, and he's been trained by the indigenous people. He spent decades of his life learning how to serve this. And so
Mm.
her and him, they have a really good, close relationship. And so she organizes all of the participants and the states and finds the Airbnb and collects, gets everything situated with food. And she creates this retreat space. And then Juan Pablo comes in and they all go up to this Airbnb and he serves the medicines. And so that she had one of those and I was like, I don't want to go. She was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to make you. Like, that's cool. And they all were coming down from the mountains, and she texted me. She's like, hey, we're all going to stop at the river, like up outside of Golden. Like, do you want to meet us? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I drive up there and it's like a Sunday afternoon. It's fucking beautiful. Like, not a cloud in the sky. I'm going up through driving up there, and I pull up to the turnout where they are and get out. I cross over the highway and I'm like walking down the embankment, and I swear it was like something out of a movie. Like, everyone was like frolicking in the water and like laughing, and like everyone was like, people were like, there was a cuddle puddle on like this on the beach, and like people were like having quiet, like very like incredible conversations, and everyone was just like floating, like radiating. Like, it was, I was like, what the fuck did they like? You'd think these are fairies out of like an enchanted forest. Like, it was so cool to like, as a third party, like just to walk into that and like having some conversations with those people. I was like, wow, Casey was one of them,
Mm.
who introduced Jacob and I. And I was having a conversation and I was like, how was it? And she was like, it was like the most profound, beautiful experience of my life.
Mm.
Like it touched my soul like deeply. And I just had that like same conversation. And I had this feeling in my, the cam was like, okay, like, I think this is like, I might want to consider this. Like,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of conversations with Anya about what that looks like and about putting some parameters around it. Like, if I do end up backsliding with like anything addiction, like, I'm gonna be really honest and like, I need to have support there. And so then I went to a year later, I went and sat on in a retreat, and I was served medicine by Juan Pablo, and it changed my life, changed my perspective. Like,
How?
for me, it was specifically with a medicine called yopo, which is very similar to ayahuasca in a lot of ways, and the spirits are different, but they're
For those that don't know what ayahuasca is, can you just kind of like, explain yopo just by itself?
yeah. Explain ayahuasca or
No,
yopo.
yopo.
So yopo is a seed that grows natively in South America, and it's been used in indigenous cultures to insight into spiritual experience. And different tribes within these communities use it as a tool to connect with the earth, with the spirits of Mother Earth, and with the world around them.
Mm.
And they've been using it for a very long time, and they use it as a tool for healing, for guidance, for to answer questions, to help them through their lives. And it's I wish I knew more about the origins of it. So I don't want to speak too much on it because
Sure.
I'm not super familiar, and I don't want to give bad information out. But Yopo is served, and it's a very powerful psychedelic. Its active ingredient is DMT, which it's very interesting because when I was still partying, I smoked DMT that was synthesized in a lab. And this was an entirely 100% different experience. And I talked to JP, Juan Pablo, about that. And what he told me was DMT synthesized in a lab doesn't have any sort of spiritual connection to anything other than the lab equipment that it's used to like grow it. That's where it's synthesized, like that's where its origins are.
Right.
Because we've figured out a way to move chemicals and particle ion, whatever. We figured out how to chemically create this compound. And so when you hear a lot of people talk about DMT, like smoked recreationally, how a lot of people report like machine elves or like little like living beings that are like within this space. And with Yopo, it was completely different. Like it was very, like you could feel like a spirit within it. Like you could feel this medicine that was like very connected to the jungle, to the earth, and like rooted in something that was not a lab. And so I think the distinction between those two was like a really interesting thing to hear conceptually. But my experience with it was the first I was served, and in the first 15 minutes, I just blacked out. And I don't remember anything. But afterwards, I was told that I like freaked out. Like I was thrashing my arms around and like kicking my legs out, and like the JP had to come over, and the first thing that I remember is him looking me like dead set in the eyes, and he's like tranquilo, and I was like, okay,
That means like calm down,
relax, yeah,
relax.
And it's like, okay, and then I like relaxed and I accepted that like, okay, I've been served, like this is happening and I need to surrender to this experience. And from there I had this incredible journey of, it seems like someone plugged my brain in for the first time ever, like to something. I was plugged into an external hard drive that had all, like everything. Like I distinctly remember getting all of this information of like how time worked, why I'm here, where I came from, where I'm going. Am I doing the right things? What needs to change? Like all of this, but it was coming in like so fast. It was all coming in simultaneously, but I understood every single thing that was happening in my brain and like every message that I was getting. And through that, I made peace with my suicide attempt. My whole intention going through this journey and going to this retreat was to make peace with that, and specifically that.
Wow. And
through the second, so the medicine is served in 3 rounds. The first one everyone takes. The second one is highly recommended, and the third one is optional. And so the first one was like all this really validating information coming into like my consciousness. Like I'm doing, like I'm on the right path. I'm like making all these decisions, and they're good decisions. Like it's getting this validation that like I'm doing things right. And the second dose was when I made peace with my suicide attempt. And I was able to sit there, and I sat outside for a moment. I left the ceremony circle and I sat outside in the grass, and I just put my hands on the ground, and I entirely forgave myself, like for all of it. And I'd done a lot of therapy up to that point to like consciously like forgive myself. But this was on a level that was deeper into my psyche and into my subconscious, where I was able to really truly just love myself for that, for what I put myself through, and find forgiveness and find peace with what I put myself through. And it was beautiful. Like it was extraordinary. And like for me, going in with a heavy intention like that, I think really benefited and really helped me to get through that. And I think the medicine knew that was my intention, like that it was very honest, and it was real. And I think it was very warm and accepting and welcoming and wanted to help me through that. And I found peace like with
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, full circle.
I mean, I didn't realize that was going to be the outcome. It's incredible, and I don't want to be a broken record, but like I'm struck by how powerful plant medicines can be. And this is not an endorsement for plant medicine.
I
This is
100% agree.
like this is not an endorsement. This is more so just an observation that I have when I hear a story like this where someone said, "Hey, I've been in therapy, I've been in recovery for years, and I then have a plant medicine experience, and in that one ceremony, however many 6 hours that might be, I completely forgive myself." That is astonishing.
Yeah. I think to couple with this not being an advertisement or a promotion for sitting with medicine, I think everything that happened up to that point needed to happen. Like I needed to go and be sober entirely from everything for 3 years. And I needed to go through therapy, and I needed to go through all of these other steps to be able to authentically arrive at that retreat and be like, I am here in earnest for no other reason than to work through this. And there is a lot of prep work that went into it. It wasn't just like I'm kind of struggling with that still, so I'm like, go do this. Like it was very conscious and very like, this is like what I'm focused on for this retreat. And so I think if that is a path that you'd like to choose, make sure that you're going in earnest, because otherwise I have heard experiences of the medicine being very harsh with other people and with other, I've heard of people going in and being like, no, I just want to see some like cool visuals and like I want to see like sacred geometry, and like they have a really bad experience because that isn't what that medicine is for. Like there is like a threshold to kind of cross, at least in my very limited experience.
Sure. I think that's important. Kind of note, disclaimer.
Can we pause for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Can I go pee?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Do your thing.
Sweet. We just took a pee break for anyone that's watching
Oh,
this
yeah.
deep.
Yeah, we just took a pee break. We've been going for 2.5 hours. If you're still here and listening,
I appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
That's cool.
There's been a lot of incredible nuggets in here. And I'm glad that, you've been listening and hopefully enjoying. These are real, authentic stories, and I'm happy that we're sharing. Let's segue into, so we know where you're going. I would love to understand who you are. So, okay, plant medicine, super powerful, incredible learnings. One of my questions that I was going to ask is like, what do you think, like if there's one single moment that's been most influential to your artist career, what would it be? Would you say it's plant medicine?
No, I think that is a really impactful, like some of the validation that I got during the ceremony was really, really impactful. Like getting validation, like you're doing the right thing, you're making the right choices, like continue pursuing this creative pursuit, because at some level you're going to help someone at some point. And hearing that from something that wasn't me and that was, giving me answers to all these other questions that I had, like really, that it was a very pivotal understanding to receive from that. But I would say like probably the most impactful, I don't know, there's a few that I can think of. I think releasing the first EP, like that Under Bluer, was like really, really something for me, like where I was like, okay, I can do this. I think there's been a lot of different shows that I've gone to where I've also realized like this is what I want to do. Dancing at that Grizz show, the first one I ever went to, like back in 2013, like that was one of those moments. And the moment with listening to Closey, and like there's so many of those that it's hard to say like there is a single like clear moment that I was the most impactful on me as a musician. But I think it's really just a combination of like a lot of, I guess, smaller, still big, but smaller moments.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's been a lot that's like gone into this journey, so I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about Tom outside of the producer
Yeah.
that you are. I know you're very big into nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was something that really struck me on one of your Instagram posts. You referred to the universe as source. And you said something along the lines of, I'm going to butcher it, but something along the lines of, when I'm away or out of nature and less connected to source, I feel like I'm creating music and using music to get me through those times, to get back to nature,
Yeah.
to source.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that? What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So I think what I was trying to get at was like when I go out and I sit next to a river and, or I like go hike and like get to a really scenic view, or, you know, whatever it looks like when I'm outside, like even just walking to the coffee shop and like looking at the trees, like blowing in the wind. Like, I feel like those moments fill my like metaphorical cup, like in a way that I then go back into like my hustle and bustle of like everyday life, and that cup gets depleted. And like I take sips from that cup like when I need to. And that's like what kind of gets me through like my 9 to 5, and like gets me through you know, when I'm not doing something where like I'm being where I'm like gathering energy, I guess. And when I write music, it seems like I'm also sipping from that cup in a way, but in a way where it's like it's a lot slower. Like it doesn't drain the cup very much. Like it doesn't take a whole lot, but it's still something where like that energy is like coming out in a different way. Like I'm taking that and converting whatever, like taking a sip from that and converting that into something creative. And I like to think of that metaphor because it's like if I try and just sit down and write music all the time and I don't go and take care of myself, and like for me taking care of myself is like going out into nature and like and being in nature close to source, like then I can't, I don't like it doesn't do any service. Like I don't have anything, my cup's empty. I can't pour anything from it. Like
Yeah.
And I like to think of that metaphor in like a lot of things that I do with my life. Like if I don't take care of myself and like eat well or like go to the gym or like, you know, go out in nature and do these things that kind of are spiritual to me in a lot of senses, then like I will not be able to act from a place of like where I aspire to be acting from.
Yeah. Well, you chose a good place to live, like so close to some incredible nature.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And it's funny, as you were saying that, I was reminded I'm rereading Rick Rubin's book Creative Act, Way of Being.
Great book.
Great book, phenomenal book if you haven't read it, and if you've heard it, put it on your list, and it's like this is your sign to read it. Anyway, he talks about how, you know, creativity just it's not always there. And like practicing patience, like sometimes it's going to be there, sometimes it's not. And it sounds like your way when it's not is like to go in nature and go fill your cup up again and recharge, and just there's a trust that like it'll come when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to read books like that and hear someone else articulate. It's like, oh shit, like that's what it is. Like I never put two and two together, but then it's like articulated. It's like, oh, well, fuck. Like, and it's cool to A, already be doing it, but then B, if you aren't, like you then realize like, okay, that's this person's way of doing that. Like maybe I should try that for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I think like as we wind down here, I have a couple kind of reflection questions. We might not get to all of them, but when it comes to addiction, why do you think there's a stigma? And do you feel that now being sober for 3-4 years that you've been?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a stigma for sure. because people who aren't in addiction only see the worst sides of it. Like they only see like the negative, like, and I mean, all of addiction I think is negative at levels, but like they deal with the outward negativity. Like there were so many nights that I'm sure my mom was up wondering, like, is my son okay? And like that's her relationship to addiction. And the lying, like I would lie to people and like try to manipulate people through being dishonest, and like that was what other people saw, like that's their relationship to that addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're only dealing with like this really slippery kind of like malignant, like very evil for lack of a better word, like force, like yeah, they're like I don't want that around me. Like I don't want my son or my daughter or my friend or my brother. I don't want anyone to like to go through that. And so when there's signs of addiction, I think it's like, well, you better stop that.
Mm.
And instead the question is like, okay, well, why is the addiction there? Like why, like what's going on underneath, like internally, that is driving you to do that? And like what can we change about that? Or like what can I do to help that? And so I think when you're like, I understand the stigma, like I get it, but I also think that there needs to be, it's also something for the people around to like consider as well. Like, okay, well, what is this person going through that's like leading them to that? Or like, is this so deeply ingrained into their being that like, that it's something that I can do anything about? Or is there anything I can help with that? Like, is there behaviors that I need to not enable? Like there is like a kind of a two-way street for everyone that's involved in that cycle.
Yeah. I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm
Yeah.
sure there are some people that need to hear it.
Yeah.
On that topic, and this is the last question on that topic, do you personally feel judged sometimes from your past?
Yes, but mostly by myself.
Mm.
And I think there are for sure people out there that judge that have judged my past and still judge me and evaluate me based on who I was. And I think I mean I get that. Like it goes back to like if that's the only interaction that you've had with me in the last 10 years or whatever, like you haven't seen me since I've gotten sober, like I don't expect like from me being sober to like change what I did to you. Like there is, like I've caused harm and I would like to make things right with people. And yeah, it's challenging. I mean, it's tough to not judge yourself and then to also live with the idea that like, ooh man, like that was cringe. Like I can't believe I did that. And I think like I've gotten to a place where like I can exist with that and knowing like, okay, well, if I have an opportunity to change that in a way, then I will. Like I'm gonna take that opportunity. I won't sit back and just like let that be. Like I will go out of my way to try and make changes. And that's just an agreement that I have with myself that I kind of have to like have in order to be okay with that judgment.
Mm. Yeah. Our inner critics
Yeah,
are very critical sometimes.
for sure. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to share? Anything that we didn't cover that you really wanted to cover? Whether it's a topic we didn't go into or a message that you have for someone that might be listening or a closing thought.
I think I've throughout our conversation, if you've made it this far, I think you kind of understand what my opinion is on how kindness operates, on how the spiritual and healing path can change things. And I hope that you've kind of heard my message. But if you haven't, I just would reiterate that change is possible. you can build a life out of nothing, and nothing is set in stone. Like, I thought that I would never be invited back to Christmas with my family. And I've spent Christmas with my family almost every year since I've gotten sober. And I didn't think I didn't, everything is like, you can make changes and you can make corrections and you can try to fix things. Some things are unfixable, but you can at least make the effort to remedy. And I don't know, man, this has just been like a really, really great couple of hours. Like, I definitely trauma dumped a bit, and I appreciate you for like listening and for hearing and giving me a platform to like talk about this. And I hope that everyone listening to this just knows that there's a beautiful life out there and we can all get there together. And if anyone is struggling, like, also, I would 100% talk to anyone that wants more information on my journey, wants support, wants recommendations. Like, I am not someone who sits in my DMs and doesn't respond to people. I respond to fucking everyone because I care genuinely about every person that I come in contact with. And so if there's ever a moment, or if you'd like my opinion on something, or like to get to know me, like, reach out. Like, I'm always around, and yeah, we can do this all together.
I love that. We can do this all together.
Yeah.
And all your links will be in the bio, so they'll have a way listeners will have a way to
Cool.
reach out to you. But thank you so much for doing this, and thank you so much for the kind words. I mean, this was a very deep and potent and powerful conversation, and like, thank you so much for sharing. I truly hope there are at least a few individuals out there that take something away from this and meaningfully change their life because of it.
Yeah, I hope so too. And if there aren't,
That's okay too.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. Sweet dude. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If something in this episode resonated, I'd really appreciate you sending it to a friend, leaving a comment or review. It all goes a very long way. Much love.